Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In this video we're going to take a close look at the Mayflash PlayStation 2 to HDMI plug-and-play solution. Alright, so when you're looking at all of the different solutions, so the Mayflash is maybe one of the most expensive ones compared with all the other ones. In this video I just wanted to do a chit chat about the signals, the different ways you can connect your PlayStation 2, and is this Mayflash actually worth the money? Because now, with say the other devices, we have like maybe a 5 all the way up to 10 freaking dollar solution, and these things are pretty cool. But well, what will bring this Mayflash? What will bring this extra to the table? Okay, so what you're getting inside the package is actually only this. The dongle, a very nice quality cable, an USB-C, and then we're having the toilet paper manual that has some nice explanation. So most of them, like the toilet paper manuals, have no explanation or it makes no sense whatsoever, but this is not bad at all. So some introduction about the Mayflash, how it works. It's a plug and play, and yep, you need this USB at the front of the PlayStation for some extra power. Otherwise, it's highly possible it doesn't work. Compatibility with the Fat and the Slim are also wondering how is it when it comes to the first generation that has some problems with dongles. And what I think is kind of cool, here it says already, it's like the maximum native resolution of PlayStation 2 is analog out 480i or 480p, and that is more depending what kind of games you're playing, like Outrun. And for example, this kind of funny that says like over here that which means the adapter will not magically turn your games into 720 or 1080p. And that's one of those things. I think, hey, I can give them some extra wicked kudos for that, because absolutely true. But the dongle itself. At the side, the Mayflash PlayStation 2 to HDMI, and there is nothing much to see beside having an USB-C for the extra power at the side, an HDMI out, and a separate AV out, or at least a jack out. And of course this thing can just be plugged in. So let's do that. How does it fit? So that's one of those things I really love to know. So it does come with some resistance, but it feels very solid. And that is one of the things that is not always the case with these dongles. So first of all, with the Mayflash, I must give this thing some extra kudos of, let's say, giving it a little bit more, let's say, overall better quality. So the bit funks, let's put this thing in, got some resistance, but feels still a little bit wobbly. So with the Mayflash, it fits in, and it feels kind of nice. So I must say, when it comes to the construction and how it fits in, yeah, so far the Mayflash is absolutely better. So this thing is even more like wiggly, it's like basically crooked. Let plugged in, and then of course we're having this horrible dongle solution. That's the same solution as the other ones. This thing feels quite nice. So when it comes to fitting this thing in, the Mayflash is absolutely one of my favorite ones. But how do you need to connect this? It's quite simple. So this cable goes basically in the side, but the weird thing is, like, I wish they went for this side, it would be more obvious. But okay, it's going to be the left side, so let's go from the left side, or at least the right side if you put the console in front of you. And what you need to do is plug this thing at the front USB. So if you don't have any ports left, due of, let's say, maybe some, let's say, upgrade you did, you can always use like a 5-volt simple normal phone charger, not a fast charger. But that's it, that's the way how you need to configure it. The cable is long enough actually to use it like this, so we have it like the other way around. But yeah, this cable, don't like it at all, and I think that is one of the downside of this, of course. Wiggy. But before we're going to plug it in and test it out on the old model and the new model, just to see how the overall quality is and does it even work, the overall thing is like, okay, what kind of signals can we even use with this dongle? And then we're going to be doing comparisons with all the other ones. But let's talk about the cable itself, or what kind of options and signal outputs we're having. But there are actually 3 different ways you connect your PlayStation 2. Over here having the AV out, this is the worst signal of all 3 of them. Then having the RGB. The RGB take consideration due of, let's say, different qualities of RGB cables, but you can have a nice and minor difference between the overall quality and of course the component. And basically these are the 3 ways you can connect your cable. This dongle utilizes the AV out, and that's also the reason why it can actually use PlayStation 1, but the signal output is pretty damn bad compared with all the other ones. And where this PlayStation 2 to HDMI utilize and converts, let's say, the component signal, the best signal, and basically puts it out in another, let's say, weird conversion. The biggest downside to this particular, let's say, conversion is that not every PlayStation 2 Fat model will use this, simply because the 30,000 of the first generation of PlayStation 2 will have no signal output when it comes to this dongle. Where most of the dongles struggle with this 30,000 first generation PlayStation 2, the Mayflash, it seems to be like a freaking miracle. Mine version actually works on this model. And it's quite interesting because with all the other cheap models, or at least the dongles I've reviewed, none of them, including the PlayStation 2 HDMI, have the option to actually use on this because I utilize the component cable and doesn't work. We have the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 HDMI. Of course, you can use it always for the older models, but that thing is so horrible, you don't want to use it at all. So if you're looking at the back of your system, for example over here we're having the 50,000 model, this particular model will work with the component cable, but also with every single dongle. For the AV out I'm using this basic and cheap HD video converter. It's also being using with the RGB cable. This is going to be for the basic signals, and I just wanted to compare this with the dongles itself. And for the component I will use the component to HDMI converter, and this will also give us a very clear idea if you're going to be comparing this with the dongles, how will they utilize the original connection that comes out of the system and how will they convert it when it comes to the colors or the contrast and everything else. So this is the Mayflash version of the HDMI dongle. Moving on to the version number 1 of the, say, the Chinese $9 or $6 cheap one. And you can just see that the colors are slightly different. I think it's the idea of somebody putting more contrast in this image. Moving on to the PlayStation 2 HDMI version number 2. And where we're going to do a quick comparison with the Mayflash, I don't see any big noticeable differences.
Your time to die. I'm going to make you pay.
The next thing I wanted to do is doing side-by-side comparisons with the Tenkaichi game. The reason why, because this is a very beautiful looking, colorful game, and when the comparison between the dongles, you will have some minor differences, especially when you're looking at, let's say, the first edition of the PlayStation 2 Hdmi Solutions. The Mayflash, I already mentioned before with the Dragon Ball Z, let's say, main menu, that the Mayflash looks kind of similar to the version 2 from AliExpress. But with this dongle and the components in output it's utilizing, what is very cool, that we can force staying in the 60Hz progressive 480p. Yep, that is one of those perks that you're getting with the right PlayStation 2 model in combination with this dongle. We have this amazing 480p signal output. And I will give you like a quick overview.
Race for the top position. For the top position.
But let's start off with the full comparison of all the different solutions. So let's go into the training mode and let's start with just the AV out, RGB, and we're going to be scaling this up all the way to basically the best signal that we're getting with the component signal output. So first let's take a close look at the AV out signal. The AV out signal is basically the worst signal you can get from your PlayStation 2. Having a good RGB cable will make the display so much more beautiful, and it's more colorful and a little bit more sharpness. But when it comes to the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 dongle, oh boy, this looks absolutely worse than the AV out. It's absolutely crazy how they managed to mess that part up. But moving up to the component cable, that is also quite interesting. So the component cable is absolutely a great solution. Now having this converter and all the shenanigans, it's not easy to use. But let's take a close look at version number 1 that utilizes this particular signal. You can just see there is some colors difference between the version 1 dongle, but also the component cable. We're now moving on to the version number 2, and this one comes really close to the authentic original component cable. But okay, so the version 2 looks authentic almost to the component signal output. But let's switch over to the Mayflash. And with this, I don't see any differences when it comes to the overall quality. So the quality of the Mayflash is, in my opinion, similar to the version 2 of the Bitfunks or cheap dongle from AliExpress. So the conclusion is that when it comes to the Mayflash, this is absolutely not a bad solution. But this thing comes with a hefty price tag, and this is something you should consider. So when I'm looking at, let's say, the overall quality of the differences, so I've noticed that this thing is quite similar to the PlayStation 2 to Hdmi from Bitfunks. The difference is that this thing is shorter, it fits way better in your PlayStation, and somehow even with my 30,000, my first generation PlayStation 2 fat model, I did get a signal. Don't know how they managed it, but where all of these other ones have problems, with mine over here I didn't have any problem whatsoever. But you need to use the component output, otherwise with RGB you're not going to get a signal. So actually this thing is similar to these two. That's the reason I wanted to do a quick comparison also with this video. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the Mayflash? Is it really worth that extra money for the overall quality that is way better when it comes to build quality? Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.